Now, President Trump has done something that I think is long overdue. He is moving to have Antifa registered as a terrorist organisation. What do you think about this? This is an extremist far-left group, and they have done enormous harm in recent years.
No, I think this is an incredible move by President Trump, and I think that it's long overdue. Antifa is indeed a domestic terrorist organization that is completely opposed to the values that make America America, and we should go after them with everything that we've got. You look at the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You have an individual who actually echoed a lot of the beliefs that underpin the Antifa agenda. Maybe if we were actually going after the should have, this would not have happened. So I think this is a long overdue move. Thank God for it. We got to make sure that we're doing all that we can to keep Americans safe. And to keep Americans safe, what does that entail? And going after these so-called anti-fascists who are actually more fascist than the people they accuse of being so-called fascists.
I'm so glad you said that, because this is one of the things that really bugs me about the media. We have it happen right here in Australia, and I'll show you an example. CNN, this is their pitiful reporting. In their opening sentence, they say, President Donald Trump said he is designating far-left anti-fascism group Antifa as a terrorist organisation. CJ, there is nothing anti-fascist about Antifa. Just because they call themselves that to try to excuse their behaviour doesn't mean it's accurate. It's like claiming North Korea is democratic because they call themselves the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or that white supremacists are superior because that's what they call themselves. This dishonesty in how Antifa is represented in the media has to stop.
No, you're exactly right. Just because they're good at branding doesn't mean they should get kudos for that, right? These people are not anti-fascist. Anti-American, they're anti-free speech, they're anti-dialogue, they're anti-debate, they're anti-everything that folks like Charlie Kirk stood for. This was an individual who didn't care about, conservative supremacy on college campuses. He cared about actual equality of ideas between the exchange of them. And they didn't believe that that was enough. And so they took his life because of it. And so, President Trump is exactly right. AG Pambani is exactly right to go after these people to ensure they do not have the ability to commit the acts of violence that they have a long track record of doing right here in America. And again, we should encourage that. We should continue to protect that, because these people, they hate this country. And if they had their way, there would be no other half of this nation with the ability to say that they love their God, they love their country, and they love the idea of a nuclear family. They would absolutely eliminate every right to say those things.
Oh, yeah, we've seen that. We've seen that all too well in recent years. CJ, I want to play you a clip of you with Charlie on a university campus. This is special.
Being hunted?
Let me tell. Okay, y'all can laugh, but until you have walked as a black person on this campus, y'all truly don't understand.
CJ, come here. Really quick. I have a question. Come here. Go right there. Right there. So CJ, just really quick. You're a black person. Are you hunted at the university?
I don't feel hunted at this university, but I guess the difference between me and some people here is that I don't choose to be a victim, Charlie, which I think is the biggest problem we have here today, are people who wake up every single day looking for a reason to be oppressed.
Tell me about that, CJ, and tell me about what Charlie was like as a man, as a friend.
Rita, that clip actually makes me a little bit emotional because, when I was just 12 years old, he was one of the first people to reach out to me in the national conservative movement. I was a young kid who made a viral YouTube video, and he DM'd me on Twitter and said, "Hey, CJ, loved your work, love your content. If I can ever be helpful to you, let me know how." And as someone who grew up in a Democrat household with parents who weren't the fondest of my political beliefs, to have someone that validated the mission that I was on meant a great deal to me. And at that moment, the University of Alabama, which I'm actually here now on campus at Alabama because I came back to host a memorial rally for Charlie. It's a full circle moment. This is an individual who stood for the ideas of free speech, who stood for the ideas of loving your God, loving your country, all things that make America America. And he went in the belly of the beast every single day, knowing the risk that came with that. But he did it because he believed that America was a country. And it's a huge legacy to live up to. but I know that he would want us to carry on the torch. He would want us to continue to fight the good fight. And that is what honestly reassures me. I know that he's in a better place and that he's looking down upon this nation, upon this world. We see vigils and rallies all across the world of people remembering his name. And I know that he's smiling ear to ear and saying, not only is his legacy alive, but it's alive and well. And God bless him for it.
And his legacy is going to be, I think, stronger than anyone can fathom. That there are 54,000 new applications for Turning Point chapters since Charlie's assassination, CJ. There are only around 2,000 chapters in place currently. I say only, that's plenty. But tell me about the reaction from young people. We've seen the ugliness, we've talked about that, the celebrations, but there are also plenty of young people who have had their eyes opened by this entire week.
Hey, you're exactly right. And I'll talk about it on a micro scale. Again, I just wrapped up an event here at the University of Alabama here in the States. And I was talking to the Turning Point USA president, and they said that their group chat for their chapter went from 200 people to 1,000 people in the aftermath of the terrible assassination of Charlie. And I think that the deal, if Charlie always said that if he were to be remembered for anything, it would be for the courage of his faith. And for him to lead a revival like this, to lead people to go to church, to read their Bible, and to join an organization like Turning Point USA, he would have felt as if his mission had been accomplished. And so, I report to him, looking up above, that his mission has indeed been accomplished, and the work that is, lies ahead is just beginning. And we're going to do everything that we can to glorify his name and to make sure his legacy is not just what he left it as, but is bigger than he ever could have imagined.
You're so right there. And part of his legacy was the way that people have remembered him. They haven't remembered him by rioting or by engaging in acts of violence, but by having vigils, by having group prayer, and by paying a tribute to his memory. And it's all been very peaceful. CJ, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rita.